Response to the attack on American forces will continue at times and places of our choosing. Greg Clugston, Washington.
U.S. Senator Rick Scott is among the conservatives frustrated by concessions being made to Democrats as Republicans try to hammer out a compromise on border security.
This has been going on for months. I've never seen it. And look, and is that fair to the people that live in my state, that they don't even get to look at this? This is what's wrong with D.C.
Senator Scott was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network this week. New polling in the California Senate race.
The latest poll shows Congressman Adam Schiff in the lead. The California Elections and Policy poll showed the Burbank Democrat with 25% support. Democrat Congresswoman Katie Porter is tied with Republican Steve Garvey. Democrat Representative Barbara Lee sits at 7%. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Correspondent Rita Foley reports Tesla is recalling nearly all of the vehicles it sold in the United States.
Here's the problem, says the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The font on some warning lights on the instrument panel is too small. That can make critical information hard to read and increase the risk of a crash, though Tesla says it has no reports of any crashes or injuries. Tesla has already started releasing a software update, and affected owners will be notified by letter starting March 30th.
And this is SRN News.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Good morning and welcome back to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. And Joe, I don't know how it's... There we go. All right, much better. Good morning and welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Today is Saturday, February 3rd. We're live with you for the next hour to answer all of your legal questions. That's right. The law office is open. Give us a call now. Be part of the show with your legal question. 877-943-9673. That is your live and local studio line to be part of today's show. Standing by call screeners ready to get you live on the air with us. So again, that toll-free number, 877-943-9673. You can also email Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com or check us out at our website, attorneypatricksmith.com. Very special thank you again to Mr. Joe Weaver and Matt Samberlin up in New York City for helping us put on our broadcast live from the Big Apple last week. We enjoyed that. And a special thank you to attorney Ken Henry for being a guest on the show and talking with us about the differences between Florida and New York laws, and just want to pointing out the highlights because a lot of our residents do sort of straddle those two states' lines, and there are some key differences. They come up all the time at the law office. So very special thank you to everyone who made that broadcast happen, and an absolutely fantastic time in New York City. Had several celebrity sightings as well when we were up there. We actually went to a matinee show on Sunday and actually saw Bradley Cooper sitting kind of just a couple rows down from us and across the aisle. So that was pretty cool to see Mr. Cooper enjoying the same show that we were. So if you want to be part of today's broadcast, 877-943-9673. You know what? I'm barely out of the intro. Haven't even had time to. All right, let's just jump into the calls. They're already hopping. Let's go to Tampa. Let's talk to Phil. Phil, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Do you want to start with your questions for me or my questions for you, Phil?
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Go ahead, Phil.
So I had a little get together with all my friends the other day, and I had a buddy rip down a painting, and it was pretty expensive. It was upwards of like $700, $800. And I'm just curious if I could take any legal action on that.
Sure. I mean, it was a trespass. The technical term, common law term, would be trespass to chattel. He damaged your property. How badly did he damage it?
Beyond repair. I can't just tape it back up.
Yeah, so at common law, that's actually something called conversion. If it's so far damaged, it's not even just a trespass. So, I mean, you would need to speak to a civil litigation attorney about maybe sending a demand letter to your buddy. It's a small claims matter. You may not even need to hire counsel, depending. You're in Tampa, so you're Hillsborough County, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can reach out to the courthouse. They usually have a small claims packet that'll kind of show you how to fill out the information, get the requisite information on kind of showing the loss, the proof of the loss, the evidence that your buddy did it. Were any third parties present who witnessed your buddy damaging the painting?
Yes, sir.
You said no?
No, yeah, there was.
There were. Okay, great. So see if you can get some independent statements, a sworn affidavit from those buddies, but we would be happy to put you in touch with a civil litigation attorney who could get you pointed in the right direction. I doubt you're going to have to hire counsel over that size of a loss. It's more like a small claims matter that you can handle on your own. And I think at the end of the day, the better question is, can you collect? So let's presume you do prevail. Does your buddy have the money to pay you, or are we in a blood from a turnip type situation, Phil?
I don't think he has the money. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay. So are you planning on going after him, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what I was calling. I don't know what I should do here. I'm kind of in a pickle.
Yeah. What do you mind sharing? What kind of painting was it?
It's a private artist down in the St. Pete area. I forgot his name now, but he does portraits of the city.
Okay. Was it particularly sentimental value, or was it just a piece you recently added to your collection?
Sentimental, definitely sentimental.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that happened, Phil. And like I said, reach out to me at the office on Monday. I'll put you in touch with a couple of civil litigation attorneys who can get you pointed in the right direction, kind of give you an idea of what you would be looking at as far as going through the process. I'll let you know this, though. If you bring this action, you're probably going to wave goodbye to any potential future friendship with this buddy. Have you reached out to him and just said, hey, would you mind paying me back? I mean, he was a friend or still is a friend, right? So have you tried that strategy yet?
Yeah, I reached out to him. I had no response in that subject, and then he's ended up just not contacting me at all.
Well, that could be read a couple of ways. Number one, he could just be embarrassed, and that could be a factor as well. Or it could be the fact that he's just trying to avoid you because he doesn't want to have to pay you. Which one do you think, between those two things, do you think it's one of those things or both of those things? You know this party, I don't. So what are your thoughts on which one of those is more contributing?
Yeah, he's not the embarrassed type. I think he's just a little stingy and doesn't want to do the payment.
Yeah. So I think you just got to spend a couple days thinking about what you want, because when you call a civil litigation attorney, one of the very first things they're going to ask you, Phil, is, in your best case scenario, tell me how this story ends. You have to be able to give the attorney that answer, and then they can tell you kind of the strategies of getting there, the likelihood of successfully getting there. So have that sort of vision in your mind so you can deliver it to the attorney. And also, I would have what I call the Joe Friday version of events. You find yourself writing these accountings down of these events, and you kind of get emotional, especially when it's a sentimental painting that got destroyed. So if you have to get those emotions out, write that version, then burn it, and then go back and write the version that's the Joe Friday version or the just the facts version of events. That way you go in armed with that appointment to the attorney's office and say, here's my goal, here's how I want it to end, and here are the bullet points, exactly what happened. And then the attorney can give you the best advice, and you can make the most informed decision about moving forward. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's well-needed information. There's
All
a
right.
lot to intake. I appreciate your help.
Phil, appreciate you calling in. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Okay.
No problem. You too, sir.
All righty. Phil made it look easy, folks. It's just that easy. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now with your legal questions. We'll give you the very best advice we can live over the air every Saturday morning. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. 877-943-9673. Open studio lines. We'll get you and your call right on the air. 877-943-9673. And for the early crowd, the office line. If you would like to schedule your complimentary consultation with yours truly, Attorney Patrick Smith, that number, 877-754-6764. Again, that toll-free office line. Office lines are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., 877-754-6764. So give the office a call. They'll be happy to get you scheduled for your complimentary consultation. Or if you'd like to book us to come out and speak to your club or group, we'll be happy to do so as well. Again, that toll-free office line, 877-754-6764. But to reach us today and talk to us live on the air, that number, 877-943-9673. I thought I'd go back to the basics this week. A lot of questions coming up at the law office this week, and sort of realizing in those questions, there's a big need for sort of an estate planning 101. So we've done something similar previously, but it's been a beat, and I thought we would go back to just some sort of vocabulary, if you will, the lexicon of estate planning. And I thought I'd go over some common phrases, and just so everyone can have these basic phrases down when you move forward with your estate planning, whether it's with me or with another attorney. This way you get this idea in your head about these key concepts. I thought, first of all, we would start with a will. It's probably by far the most prominent type of estate planning tool used in the state of Florida, at least based on my experience. A lot of people use this, and I review a lot of them weekly. And what is the primary goal of a will? Well, the primary goal of your will is to make sure that when you pass away, the people you intend get the stuff that you left over when you died. So you're sort of being a steward of your assets, making sure that when you die, there's no confusion over who gets what. And also, you name the personal representative, the person who can be in charge. Now, there's certain requirements to being a personal representative, and they're more strict than serving as a trustee on a trust. And we'll see that as we unpack these terms. Personal representative generally has to be a family member or relative of a close family member, or a Florida resident, one of those categories in general terms, and obviously at least 18 years of age or older, and not convicted of a felony. There's some strict restrictions there on serving as a personal representative. But a will is a document that after you pass away, we often call them testamentary documents or post-mortem documents, that passes along who you want in charge and who you want to receive your items. Now, what happens if you don't have a will? Well, the state by statute often fills in those gaps under what we call the intestacy provisions of the Florida Probate Code. So, number one in our estate planning 101 kind of basics is the will. The document that says, upon my death, here's who's in charge and here's who gets it, is my best layman's definition. Now, wills typically do go through a probate process for those assets administered under the will. And if those assets outside of any exemptions exceed 75,000, that probate can, of course, be formal. And oftentimes formal probates wind up being 6 to 14 months, 3 to 10% in fees when you factor everything in: court costs, attorney's fees, filing fees, administrator's fees. So it can get expensive, and oftentimes people desire to avoid probate. So 877-943-9673. That's your live and local studio line if you'd like to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. And before we continue on with our next term in estate planning 101, let's go back to Polk County and let's go to Polk County and let's talk to Pete. Pete, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. How are you, Pete?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm great. How's Polk County today?
Foggy.
Yeah, it's foggy here too. Driving in, I mean, I'm glad I, know the path well, because you could basically see no street signage. It was so thick coming across the Howard Franklin. So it doesn't surprise me that Polk County, because you're deeper in the swamp there than we are over here. But how can we help you today, Pete?
So my wife and I purchased a brand new 2023 Honda CRV in January of last year. She travels on I-4 to work. Got a rock, cracked the windshield, had it replaced by Safelite via our insurance company. It started leaking. We had significant water damage. There was pool water on the floorboards. Then the electronic system started going haywire. All the alarms and sensors started going off. Long story short, it's been at the dealership for 2 months now. Has not moved in a month. My insurance company has not contacted me since December 26th. We really don't want this vehicle back because it's been damaged. My wife is asthmatic. We're worried about mold and mildew. I'm worried about the electronic system because once water's been in that, you never know what you're going to get back. They say they're going to fix it, but like I said, it has not moved from its parking space in 4 weeks, and we feel like we're just getting, pushed around here. No one has any answers for us.
Well, let's get you some answers, Pete. So going back, was there any sign of leak in the vehicle before the cracking and the subsequent repair to the windshield?
No. In fact, it's a Regal Honda in Lakeland, and they were able to verify that Safelite used a aftermarket windshield, which you can't do with that vehicle.
and they were able to determine that yes, it was the faulty installation of the windshield that caused the leaks.
Yeah, so I was going to say, it sounds like the dealership hasn't done anything wrong. They sold you a great vehicle that had a fully working windshield. So I think what you got to do is reach out to the company
Correct.
that performed the repair and basically say, did you hear the first caller when we were talking to Phil about the painting that was destroyed? It's a similar strategy for you, although it wasn't a painting that was destroyed. It's your windshield that sounds like it was improperly repaired because it was an aftermarket windshield. And I do know
Mhm.
sometimes with these companies, you do have to request that it be like a name brand, so to speak. So if it's a Honda windshield, make sure they're using another Honda windshield. Or if it's a BMW windshield, make sure you're using a BMW windshield and not something that's like a one-off product that's a little bit cheaper for them. So I would tell them the story, tell them what happened. Do you have a grand total of how much in damages you've had so far as out-of-pocket expenses?
Well, so far they're up to $5,000, but they haven't
Wow.
gotten a huge electrical system yet. That's just the cosmetic, the floorboards, the seats, wire harness around the windshield, stuff like that.
Not to mention your peace of mind. I mean, your wife, like you said, is an asthmatic, so her driving that car, even if it was operable now, probably doesn't give you too much peace of mind. So
Exactly.
yeah, that 5,000 could have gone a long way to buy a new car too. So I mean, I think that right now the best thing to do probably just draft a letter. I don't think you quite need an attorney at this point. I mean, you can talk to one if you want to, Pete. I'll be happy to put you in touch. But
Mhm.
I think at this point it may be one of those things where you just send them a letter and say, "Hey, here's what happened. I'd appreciate it if you guys would make this right." But I think you're going to have to do kind of what I advised Phil of doing and say, what do I want? And you kind of hit the nail on the head. You said, we don't want this car back. So you have
Right.
to really sort of structure, because the dealer doesn't really sound like they have any obligation to take the car back. They didn't do anything wrong. They sold you a great car
Correct.
and it was working right. And then so there was work subsequent that's not on the dealer. I think what you got to do is write a letter to the insurance company, or the company that performed the work rather, and say, look, here's what happened. And you said you went through your insurance company for this?
Correct. I went through my insurance. They referred me back to Safe Flight. I'm actually dealing with Safe Flight's insurance now. Fleet Services.
Mhm.
But like I said, we're 2 months in. The car hasn't moved in a month, and I don't know
All right. If
what's
you're
going on.
if you're that far along and you're already dealing with their liability insurance, I'm changing my answer. Give me a call on Monday. I'll put you in touch with an attorney. My concern there is I don't want Pete for them to slip some sort of settlement under your nose and you sign it without a good attorney taking a look at that. And if you hear nothing else from this call, Pete, hear that. Don't sign anything. And if they call you for any recorded statements, make sure you get your attorney on the line. You're not being rude. If they call you and say, "Hey, we want to record this," just be like, "I have no problem with that, but I'd like to reschedule to a time when my attorney can be present," and then just go from there. Just protect yourself, because you just want this over once and for all. You don't want it to drag on and turn into some legal battle that it doesn't need to.
Absolutely.
Well, Pete, what do you do for a living in Lakeland?
I manage a pawn shop,
Really? Which one?
Cash America.
All right. So Cash America Pawn Shop. Take 30 seconds. Plug your pawn shop, Pete.
Hey, come down and see us. We got gold, guns, and everything in between.
Well, firearms in Polk County, that is not a hard sell, I can imagine. So, and speaking of Polk County, I do want to, and Pete, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All righty. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number. If you would like to be part of today's show, like Phil and Pete, 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. Call in with your legal question. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I am your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we'll be with you for the next half hour or so, answering all your legal questions, as we are with you every Saturday. So feel free to give us a call, and we will be happy to answer your legal question, give you the best legal advice that we can live over the air. And I said, mentioning and speaking of Polk County there, as we talked to Pete about his apparently defective windshield work, we've actually been contacted by Gospel 90.3, one of our stations that carries our show very proudly and very faithfully. We appreciate everyone down there now working the board to make sure we're on the airwaves in Polk County. And Doug reached out to me, and we are going to be making an appearance on February 29th as part of their Restore-a-thon. We'll be on during the 4 o'clock hour. And I know they've lined up some sort of Polk County celebrities to appear as part of Restore-a-thon. Doug didn't really say, so I'm not going to say. I know who's on right before me, and it's definitely a big Polk County name. So, Doug, if you're listening, you can just call in and tell me if I can announce it. Otherwise, I'll keep it a secret, but it'll be Thursday, February 29th from 4 to 5 p.m. I'll be on as part of the Restore-a-thon there at Gospel 90.3 WLVF, Landmark's Voice of Faith. And we're very happy to be partnered with you guys. And thank you guys for carrying the show down there. And a very special hi to Pastor Carter and Dr. Lee and the rest of the pastoral team at Landmark Baptist Church. So look forward to seeing all you guys like we do every year as Restore-a-thon rolls. You know, and I'll say this, 90.3 FM will always hold a special place in my heart, because without that station, I'm probably not in radio. As a little boy growing up in Polk County, that was the station that I would listen to. And I would remember during their Restore-a-thon, there was a wonderful young minister there by the name of Brother Rich Lemon, who used to go on the air, and you could just feel his passion for radio, and not only just for the gospel, but his passion for live radio. And it was absolutely intoxicating, and a large part of the reason why I am in radio today. So 90.3 FM will always hold a special place in my heart. And Doug and the rest of the team down there, as long as I can, I will always be proud and happy to be part of Restore-a-thon. So very much looking forward to that. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local studio line to be part of today's show. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and our next guest is going to be Kim from Fort Myers. Kim, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. How can we help you today?
Thank you. I have a question about my home. I own a home with no mortgage, and I was wondering if I put my son on as a co-owner, if I pass away, does he get to keep that house without paying any kind of like inheritance taxes or anything like that?
He would probably dodge any inheritance tax as long as the estate was under 13.6 million, but I'm not even sure the home would be included on your facts, because you said you want to change the fact from you own it alone to you've added your son's name to the deed, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so under the tax analysis, that wouldn't necessarily be an asset owned by you at death. It could be owned solely by your son, depending on how you set up the deed, Kim. And that would be, you know, if you set it up as a joint tenant with a right of survivorship, you pass, it's all his. There's nothing owned by you on death. I don't really see it being subject to the estate tax there. However, while we may be dodging estate taxes, keep your eye on the gift tax, because by adding his name to the deed, the IRS could deem that a taxable gift. So you may want to get with your accountant and file what we call a 709. That's the gift tax return. And if the accountant tells you otherwise, I defer to them. If you need a referral to an accountant, we've got a great one we have on the show periodically, Dwayne Bischoff. I'll be happy to put you in touch with him. And he can sort of walk you through that gift tax analysis and sort of how to ameliorate the payment. You're going to owe the tax potentially, but there's things you can do to ameliorate having to actually pay that tax. However, I do want to give you a couple other caveats, because this came up at the law office this week about adding kids' names to homes. Does your son have his own home?
Yes, he does.
In Florida?
Yes.
Does he have a homestead exemption on it?
Yes.
You cannot have two full homestead exemptions. So if you add his name to your deed, you will be losing at least part of your homestead, because if you didn't, your son would technically be the benefit of two homesteads. Is your son married?
No.
All right. If he should marry and go through a divorce, or if God forbid he's in some sort of auto accident and his name is on your deed, that home is potentially exposed to his liabilities because it's not his homestead property. Okay. There's no creditor protection. It's his second home. It's not under that Article 10, Section 4 protection. So, and if you and your son, God forbid, Kim, I wouldn't wish this on any mother or son, to have a falling out and his name is on the deed, you could be looking at a partition action. So I think there's some risk there. Tell me what your overall goal was, Kim, when you asked about adding his name. In your mind, what goal did you think you're accomplishing by putting his name on the deed?
In my mind, I was just thinking, you know, that would be a lot easier if I passed, that he could just assume control of the property and do what he wants with it, whether he sold it, and versus having to go through the will process and everything like that.
Yeah, I would just consider doing a simple trust, because you could easily create the trust, drop the home in the trust, and this type of trust could be nothing more than a fancy will that skips that probate process. And you could have the home just go straight to him. My trust packages, by the way, Kim, for non-taxable estates, those under 13.6 million, it's a flat fee. It's $695, and that covers the trust, the pour over will, power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, living will, and the deed for your homestead property. And then that goal will be achieved. Not only making sure that when you die, it goes to your son without any of the probate process because the home's in the trust, but it'll also add a couple added benefits. Okay. Number two, it'll be completely private. It's off the public record. That trust is a private instrument. Number three, that's going to be a good provision for incapacity. So down the road, Kim doesn't die, but Kim develops dementia or has an auto accident. She's in a coma. You can set it up so that there's a successor trustee there to step in when two doctors say that you're no longer capacitated. And then that person can take over, protect the assets for you, your care to the fullest extent under Florida law. So I just think it's a more comprehensive strategy than going ahead and just adding his name directly to the deed.
Yeah, that makes sense. And can you do it? I'm in Fort Myers, so can I do it like over Zoom or just over email?
Yeah, we can do a conference call. And as far as a signing goes, we would just have to work out the technicalities there. But we could work out something with you, Kim. But as far as an initial appointment, it would just be a conference call. You just call the office line. I'll give it out here in just a moment. Any of the staff there, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. will be happy to get you scheduled for that conference call. We take down all your information, prepare the drafts, make your edits, go from there.
Okay, thanks. And one more question. I have a daughter who is 17 and a half as well. Would it be easier to wait until she's 18 to do this, or does it not make a difference?
For you, it doesn't matter, I don't think, because she's so close to being an adult. If you're asking about her doing her own documents, by the way, for the record, as soon as a child turns 18, I do recommend that each parent encourage their recently adulted child to get at least a basic will, power of attorney, that sort of document in place, because a lot of parents don't realize as soon as your child turns 18, they're an adult and you don't have that parental authority to speak to their physicians or anything on their behalf. You need these instruments in place so that you could talk to a doctor on their behalf or make decisions with them. So for you, I don't really think it makes much of a decision or difference. For her, I think it's going to be one of those things, 18, and then get those basic documents in place.
Okay, thank you so much.
All righty, Kim. Thanks for listening. Have a great Saturday.
Thanks.
877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And that came up this week at the office as well. We were talking about trust packages, and someone asked, they said, I was quoted this fee by someone else, and why is your fee $6.95? And I told them it's real simple. I like to make my philosophy is I want to try to keep estate planning as affordable and accessible to as many Floridians as possible. So I price the documents the way I do in an effort to make it accessible to everyone. So our trust packages are $6.95. If you're out there and you are recently turned 18 and you just need a will, it's $75 at the office. And I try to price it so that everyone can have access to good quality estate planning. So if you want to schedule your complimentary estate planning consultation with me, Attorney Patrick Smith, 877-754-6764. That's your live and local number. I'm sorry, that's your office line to call the office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to schedule your complimentary consultation, which we also do phone conferences, as we were telling Kim, if that's more convenient for you. Some of those phone conferences go after hours. We recognize a lot of people work and they have 9 to 5, so they have to have a conference call after 5 o'clock. We can accommodate that as well. That toll-free office line, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764. But to talk to us today, live on the air, open phone lines, open studio lines, get you right on the air, 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now, get you in the queue, and answer your legal question as best we can. I already had a great start to the show with Phil's question about destroyed painting, Pete's question about improper installation, allegedly, of a faulty windshield, and then Kim's question about adding a child's name directly to a deed, and our solution and recommendation of considering a simple trust, which is the next item on our list of definitions and terms and phrases in estate planning, so to speak, is the concept of the trust. And let's agree, there's lots of different types of trust. It's only an hour show. We don't have time to go in every type of trust. So we're going to talk about probably one of the most popular, which is the living revocable trust, which primarily is used to avoid probate. And we sort of already hit on these points in answering Kim's questions. It's avoiding the probate process, providing a good incapacity plan, building that foundation for if you don't die, but you become incompetent, develop dementia, and you wind up long-term in some sort of nursing facility, God forbid, and you need someone to step up to captain your family ship. The trust can provide that methodology, and it also keeps it private, off the public record. So the trust is a very common strategy we see, and the goal there is usually to achieve all those goals: privacy, incapacity planning, and avoiding the probate process for everything that is in that trust. The next document, the power of attorney. Biggest misconception I see here with power of attorneys. A lot of times we see kids coming in saying, I want to get power of attorney over my parents. We touched on this a little bit last week when we were talking to attorney Ken Henry, our New York attorney, when we did our special Florida and New York law differences and similarities. And the power of attorney is not a document that you get over someone. It's a document that is given to someone. So typically the parent would come in and say to the attorney, I've decided it's at this point in my life where I want to give power of attorney to my spouse or to my child or to someone to make these sorts of decisions for me. Now, the power of attorney can be as broad or as narrow as you want. It can cover just financial matters. It can cover just certain financial matters. It can cover healthcare matters, or it can cover all of the above. So you can craft that document with your attorney to sort of meet your family's particular desires there. And included in that is the healthcare surrogate. A lot of times you just combine those instruments, especially when it's first marriage, 40, 50, 60 years, and you want it all to your spouse. You want them to have full and total control. You can simply merge all that into one easy to manage document. So power of attorneys and healthcare surrogates. 877-943-9673. If you'd like to be part of today's show, you have a legal question on any topic, not just estate planning, although we are sort of doing a deep dive into some estate planning basics after a week at the office where I realized just a lot of people not understanding the terms and kind of misappropriating these terms and it leading to a lot of unnecessary confusion. So if I'm seeing it at the office and having to set it straight there, I'm guessing that it's happened sort of en masse throughout the state of Florida. So here we are correcting it. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local studio line if you'd like to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. By the way, for those of you who like to watch the show, we have 3 ways that you can actually watch the show now. We actually have our old and trusty Facebook page, which I'm actually looking at the feed right now. Thank you all for watching. We also have our Instagram live post, who I always see after the show because it's on my cell phone. So I actually can't see how many of you are watching right now, but thank you for all those of you watching on Instagram and YouTube. We now have a YouTube channel. So on Facebook, it's Attorney Patrick Smith, and on Instagram and YouTube, it's the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. So you can check all those out. If you're more of a visual person and would like to watch the show live, you can certainly do so. YouTube and Instagram, the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Facebook, Attorney Patrick Smith. Check us out. Let us know what you think. And for those of you who follow the Facebook page, we always have a replay after the show. And we also have the replays live on the website as well. It takes, Joe, what does it take? About an hour, 2 hours or so, and it's up on the website-ish. So within a couple hours of the show, you'll have a podcast version of our live broadcast. So if there was a particular caller and an answer you wanted to go back and replay and rehear the question, rehear the answer, they're all available at my website, attorneypatricksmith.com. All you got to do is scroll down towards the bottom. There's a radio link with a picture of me behind the mic. That's it. And if you go there during the show, that link actually becomes live. So you can actually click it and pick up the live feed Saturday mornings, 8 to 9. Afterwards, you can go there, click that, and you'll get the podcast of any of our prior shows. So you can go back and check out any of our calls that you might have missed. If you want to talk to us today, 877-943-9673. Our next item of discussion in estate planning topics and terms is that of the living will. Now, we just talked about the power of attorney. And the power of attorney was a document that grants authority. You're giving someone the ability to make certain decisions for you: medical, financial, healthcare, whatever. In my description, from a layman's standpoint, think of the living will as you taking back one decision from that agent or attorney in fact that you just gave power to under the power of attorney. Why would you want to do that? It's a simple message. The living will is a document that says, hey, if I'm found brain dead, according to 2 doctors, first and second medical opinion, with no chance of making any recovery, I've decided if I'm in that condition, let me go. Because I love you, the person that I designated as my power of attorney and healthcare surrogate, too much to ever ask you to make that decision for me. I'm going to go ahead and make the decision for myself and memorialize it in this living will. So in my opinion, that is sort of the public policy behind living wills and why we do them. It is designed to give the surviving family, and not just necessarily a spouse. I mean, it's tough if you're there, and I've dealt with those situations with clients. If you're a spouse who has to tell the doctor and you don't have that living will, it can haunt you. Where I see it more haunting, in my opinion, is with regard to children having to make the decision for a parent. That can be particularly traumatizing. So that living will can go a long way in saving your family from that sort of trauma. So if you have a question about a living will or any other legal question, 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. And before we continue on, let's go to our next caller. All right, let's go to Naples, and we're going to talk to Sissy. Sissy, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, Sissy. How can we help you?
Good. I bought some property when I was young, 35, 40 years ago. And at the time, the property was landlocked, but all around it, it was owned by one owner. He just wanted to sell that parcel out. It was a verbal that I could come in and out, but I don't have legal access. Now developers are wanting to develop all around me, and I've approached them about getting an ingress-egress easement, and they don't want to do that until they sell all their property. And I was wondering what my rights were there. I thought you couldn't have landlocked property.
There is a statute about that. Attorney Scott Smothers is who I would send you to kind of quote chapter and verse on that. I know that if he hasn't litigated that exact issue, Sissy, it's something very similar that he's litigated. So if you reach out to me on Monday, I'll put you in touch with Scott's office and make sure that he kind of quotes chapter and verse to you as far as what your rights are. So you'll know, are you negotiating from a very strong position of power, a somewhat position of power, or a very weak position in light of the statutory provisions? But you never signed any sort of lien acknowledgement. You never received any sort of grant of a lien from any of the property owners surrounding your property.
No, I did not. But to complicate it more, it's timber property, and the neighbor around me is in planting timber. This is his third cut, and he hasn't. I'm paying the taxes on it, but he's planting timber and cutting it and selling it.
Is it still a vacant lot, or do you have a home built on it now?
Yeah, it's vacant. Vacant. 6.5 acres vacant.
Would you be interested in selling it to the property owner that surrounds you?
I might, but everybody's telling me it would be worth more after they developed.
It might be, but there could be some interim balance there. So, like, for instance, if it's worth, I mean, this, and I'll let Scott speak to this and maybe talk to a good realtor. And if you need a recommendation there, I'm happy to give you one. But at the end of the day, I think it's one of those things where you look at it. If it's worth, $800,000 now is a lot, and it's going to be worth like 1.2 million after they finish. Well, you say, I know it's not worth 1.2, but it's also got a high upside. So maybe we do 950, or you get a little more now. But the other thing is that there you're out, and you can take your cash and go and spend it however you'd like. So again, like we told a couple of the earlier callers, Sissy, I think you got to think about what is going to make Sissy happy and bring that to the attorney with whom you speak.
Okay, I will. And I thank you for taking my call.
Oh, Sissy, we appreciate you. You're listening on 102.5 The Bone. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
All right,
Thank
Sissy,
you.
we appreciate you and all our other Bone listeners out there. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday, okay?
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All righty, 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Straight to Bradenton. Let's talk to Devin. Devin, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Yeah, thank you. It's Kevin, by the way, not Kevin.
Kevin, do you have okay. Kevin, our apologies. How can we help you today?
I'll try to cut it to the chase. I did one of those claims through one of those roofing companies that say they'll get you a new roof, et cetera, after Irma.
Yeah, just don't say any names for me if you don't mind, Kevin, okay?
Yeah, no problem. Long story short, they came after me. They did not win the claim. They came after me for the 2 different repairs that they did on my home during the almost 3 years of waiting to go to case. They surprised me with served me papers, et cetera. And
when were you served, Kevin?
You mean time frame wise? I guess it was back. Good question. I guess it was back in April of last year.
All right. And they served you with the lawsuit. Is that right?
Well, they were taking me to court to get a judgment against me.
Well, you had 20 days to respond to that. Did you respond, or did they get a default
Yeah,
judgment?
yeah. I went to mediation, and
On your own, or did you have an attorney?
No, I didn't have an attorney. That was probably my mistake.
Oh, God bless you, Kevin.
Yeah. And so at mediation, they didn't send.
Wait. Can I guess? At mediation, was there an impasse?
What does that mean?
That means you failed to settle it.
That is correct.
I'm shocked, Kevin. Okay, continue your story.
Yeah. Well, the mediator didn't do their job. They made it. Yeah. They didn't make it sound like, oh, we'll work this out down the road, because they didn't send their own lawyer. They sent in a different lawyer, a local lawyer, because they didn't think I'd show up. So after I wanted to settle, and the mediator made it said, okay, well, since he's not really representing the company, he's only authorized to go so far. You guys can keep talking. And I did. I tried to settle with them, but every time they kind of made me an offer, they never got back to me on email to do that. And so they made me go to trial.
Did you do your own trial, Kevin?
Yeah, unfortunately, Patrick,
Okay.
I should have.
All right,
If
Kevin.
I knew you, I probably would have called you.
Kevin, hold on. We got to back up to the mediation. I have so many questions. First of all, I just applaud the bravery of Kevin in this scenario. So you first of all, how long did the mediation last?
I'd say, because he stepped out of the office to talk to, I guess.
No. Just a ballpark. Was it hours or was it minutes?
Oh, it was definitely no more than 30 minutes.
Okay. All right. So now at trial, at what point did you realize you were in over your head?
At trial?
Yeah, at trial.
Right from jump.
Yeah.
I mean, because as soon as I got in front of the judge, the lawyer for the firm said, we want to exclude any discussion of settlement previously. And that threw me out. I did have some consultation via a friend about what to say, yada, yada. And of course, she blew me out of the water as soon as they ruled it out.
Hold on, wait. You got talking points from a friend. Was this friend a licensed attorney?
And I don't believe so. I think a mediator is what his title was.
Kevin, yeah, there's just, I mean, I appreciate you calling in. So many people right now are learning from your story. So there is value in this. Kevin, going back, if you could turn back the hands of time at the start of the case, do you think, or would you have hired counsel?
Well, it depends how much it would have cost. That was the big can of worms. I didn't know that. People told me, it's going to cost you more to hire an attorney than to pay for the claim. You know, the hook was, we'll get you a new roof.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people in the neighborhood were getting roofs after Irma. Supposedly the same, not the same company, but the same claim. You know, your roof is damaged because it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
They got to read the code, and they can't repair the roof. So they kind of put me together on that. You know, and I just assumed that it was legit because I did have damage. They did fix it, repair it, but they didn't make it look, you know, better as it was, shall we say. I would call it temporary repairs, kind of, sort of.
So, Kevin, where are we with it today, and what is it we can advise you on?
Okay, so at trial, I went ahead and decided maybe I did the wrong thing. I said, look, I was trying to settle this before, and can we do that now? I asked the judge, and the judge says, sure, if you want to negotiate or whatever, settle. So we stepped outside, me and the other attorney, stepped outside, went to a conference room, and the claim was they wanted $8,000 in the initial negotiation back before the trial. They wanted $8,000 for the work. They were coming after 12. They wanted $8,000 so I guess they could get it in under small claims court, but they wanted like almost $3,000 to $4,000 of attorney's fees. And I was trying to settle for 50 cents on the dollar or close to that. You know, that was my strategy. And, you know, they wouldn't budge a nickel. You know, afterwards they were talking they would budge on the emails back and forth, et cetera. But so they got that. We agreed to that. And then when we went back in front of the judge, the lawyer said, we've agreed to do this and this and this. And then they want to, now here's the main reason for my call. Now they want to take me back, which I guess is part of the agreement, to seek out legal fees.
Yeah. So what I would do, Kevin, at this point, give me a call at the
legal.
office on Monday. You need a lawyer. And I will put you in touch with a very good civil litigation attorney that I work with who will tell you exactly how deep of a hole you've dug and what it would cost to get you out of it and go from there. But yeah, everyone listening, if you're dealing with these sorts of insurance claims, I recommend engaging at least for a consultation. An attorney sooner as opposed to later. Yeah, because like the unknown, Kevin, was you said, I didn't know how much it was going to cost. Well, if you didn't consult with an attorney, you never really found out either. I mean, if an attorney says the fee is going to be, something within a reasonable realm for you, you do it. And you have to sort of have that information, but you can't make a decision based on partial information. So, Kevin, give us a call at the office on Monday. I'll give the office line here in just a moment, and we'll get you squared away as best we can, okay?
So I'll stay on the phone.
No, you don't. You can hang up and just turn the radio up. I'll give out the office line, okay?
Oh, I see. Thank you, Patrick. Have a great day.
You too, Kevin. Bye-bye. 877-943-9673. That's the studio line to be part of today's show. The office line, as promised to Kevin and the rest of you listening out there, that office line. If you want to schedule your complimentary consultation with yours truly, book me for a public speaking engagement. If you want to have us come out and speak to your group, if you would like any information about the office, or if you're looking for a referral to another attorney in a different field that doesn't practice in my field, that office line, toll free, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764. And yes, I do return my calls. It cracks me up when I call people back and they say, I can't believe I'm talking to you. You're the guy on the radio. I return my calls. So you give me a call at the office, you leave a voicemail, we will give you a call back. 877-754-6764. All right, next, let's go to Vincenzo in Sarasota. Vincenzo, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning.
Good morning. Vincenzo, how can we help you today?
Okay, this is on labor, on salary versus hourly. I am an hourly employee, part-time, about 20, 22 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
I receive a commission to retail business based upon the selling price versus the cost of that item. I receive a commission.
Hey, Vincenzo, the only thing I ask, don't say the name of the retail business if you don't mind, okay?
I will not, because to your point right now, I have not done any action, and I listened to you religiously, and I said, I've got to call because it's come to a breaking point.
Okay.
And because if I do go through with any kind of legal action, I fear that I'm going to be immediately fired. So I'm waiting until I find another job, and then we'll pursue this.
Well, that's smart. Do you have an employment contract, or are you an employee at will?
Employee at will.
Okay.
But I have a history of my hourly wages.
Yeah.
Okay. So now with the commission, several months, it's some of the commissions, because I track through the business, and I'm legally allowed. I would say legally, but I'm allowed to track my commissions and how much I'm entitled to, which I do on every sale. And sometimes they're short $80, $90, and I just let it go. I challenge.
Vincenzo, I'm only cutting you off because I'm running up against the end of the show. You think you've been shorted some money? Am I correct?
That is correct.
All
because right. When I've challenged.
Vincenzo, give me a call at the office on Monday. I'll put you in touch with a labor law attorney. This is not really a wills or trust matter. You need someone who can speak chapter and verse to this. I'll put you in touch with someone, okay?
I'll speak to you next week. Thank you for taking my call.
Vincenzo, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And Anonymous, I see you there. Hang on to the line. I'll talk to you off the air. I'm coming up against the end of the show. So to wrap things up, Vincenzo, thanks again for calling in. Alrighty, 877-754-6764. That's your toll-free office line to reach me at the office to book your complimentary estate planning consultation in Clearwater, Sarasota, Sun City Center, Claremont, any of those office locations. 877-754-6764. To email me, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. And we thank you all for listening, and we will be back with you next week on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Everybody stay safe and have an amazing weekend.